listen, I've lost my wife. Okay. Communist Sweden. The conservatives were right. Okay. So Sweden, the communist country of Sweden. Okay. Not only are their taxes fucking insane, all right, which is whatever. You get a lot of services. That's okay. Not only are their taxes insane, Melina and I have been struggling to sort out like everything going on for the past 2 or 3 years. It's difficult to figure out like where does she have to pay taxes to, where, like how do we account, blah blah blah. It's been a nightmare. So for the taxes, we've paid all the taxes, everything, for the last 3 years in Sweden, and for the last 2 years in the United States. Okay, I have paid all the taxes owed as though Melina is taxed as a U.S. citizen, or my wife basically, and I've manually paid. I just wired another 100,000 USD to the Swedish goddamn IRS like 2 or 3 months ago to give them their pound of flesh that I thought I was getting back. My expectation is that money is coming back once they sort out all of her bullshit, because she shouldn't be paying taxes in two places. Okay. So I felt like her last tax guy was not up to snuff. So I had a fan actually reach out to me, got her part of a Big Five, like international accounting firm, and now we're working that. Thank God. So hopefully I get that 100,000 back, because we've paid over like 250,000 together in taxes to Sweden. Okay, like 200,000, 250,000 USD. Okay. Holy shit. All right. So during this process, Melina flies back to Sweden. She shows up for her little IRS bookkeeping. Oh, Big Four, maybe not Big Five. Okay, listen, I'm from Nebraska. It was the Big 10 when I was there. Okay, yeah. Well, actually, it was Big 12 and then Big 10. But she has her little meetings to set up her shit. She's responding to all of her emails. You know, she's making her meetings. We do our tax appointments. We pay the money. We've paid a lot of money. And then she had a meeting yesterday. And for whatever reason, the prosecutor is like now considering indicting her for fraudulent books, and they seized her fucking passport. So now she can't leave the country or come back to the United States. And now she's looking at possible criminal charges for what? Like, in my mind, in the US of A, in the United States of America, when you're self-employed, almost, it might actually be every time. It might be 100% of the time. In the United States, if you f up your taxes the first year as a self-employed person, as long as you write a letter to the IRS and you say, hey, listen, like I'm kind of figuring so I f it up. In my personal experience and from whatever I've heard from any other accountant, they will always forgive, not interest, but they'll always waive penalties and fees for your first year. They always do that because people always f up their shit when you're self-employed. They always do that. And then in Sweden, I guess they just assume you're engaged in like fraudulent, like willful tax evasion. And yeah, holy shit. Or fraudulent bookkeeping. The guy said it was a bookkeeping charge, because I just talked to the lawyer. That's what I was talking to an hour ago, because I'm like, what the f is happening right now? And I don't know why they would think to charge her and seize her passport when, one, she's explicitly in the country right now to make these meetings. It's not like she's just like skipping all the meetings. And then two, we've paid these people over 200,000 USD in taxes. She has like a 60% effective tax rate. It's insane. And we're paying tax to the United States while it's getting sorted out. So like, we've given them the money. She's meeting the meetings. She's in the country for the meetings. Holy f. The biggest stress, and this is some war, because like if she's doing, you know, she has to stay in Sweden for a few more months to figure it out, that's fine. But the biggest stressor is that if for some reason there's some actual formal trial and she's got to do some shit, if she's out of the country for more than a year, she's gonna lose her fucking green card, and then I'm gonna lose my mind, because that was a 4-year fucking process to get her green card. And once you've got a green card as a U.S. citizen, you can't spend a year out of the country because you're not a citizen. I'm sorry, you're not a citizen yet. You're a permanent resident. You'll lose your residency and they'll revoke your green card. And I'm pretty sure you have to go through the entire process over again. Destiny, you should be getting a foreign tax credit. No, so your tax in the US should be 0. The tax in Sweden should be 0 because we're paying them in the US and she lived in the US. But apparently, so here's like a really weird thing. If you're a European, you're not going to understand this. But in the United States, you don't really exist anywhere or in any database as like a person that exists in an area. I don't know why or how, and I noticed this when we were doing things for Melina, where it's like, because I would ask like, oh, like they're like, do we need to get a name change for Melina? And everyone's like, well, what's her name? And it's like, I don't know. Like, don't you guys have like a record of that? Something like, no, just give us her passport. It's like, you don't have like she's not like registered as a human being. And it's like, the US like doesn't really do that. We have social security numbers attached names, but in like other countries, I think in Europe, it's more common that like a person will be written into an area where it's like, oh, like this person's first and last name lives in this area. We know that. And in the US, we don't have anything like that. We have no like registrar of people. Like even our census is like every 2 years. I think we just mail all the houses. We're like, we think you live here because of IRS records. Like fill some shit out. But one of the challenges with Sweden was we didn't realize, or Melina didn't realize, how the fuck would I know, that when she moved to the US, you have to actually write yourself out of the United States. Or I'm sorry, you've got to write yourself out of Sweden as having moved out. It's not like in the US where thing. So we've done that now retroactively. We've got an actual CPA that's like working on this. But part of the tax code is like, oh, you're trying to write yourself out of the country. Now we know you're up to no good. And it's like, bro, are you fucking serious? Holy shit. But Jesus, it's actually so, it's just so, it's unbelievable. Won't she not be landing in the US if she has a criminal record in Sweden? I don't know for taxes. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is just the green card stuff right now. You can stay outside the country for more than a year if you apply for a re-entry permit. I don't know if that's the case. I have to go look it up again. I think you can get a re-entry permit, but I think you run the risk of losing your residency if you're out of the country for more than a year, unless you have a really good reason. But I need to go look it up, I think. You might be able to get back in with a permit, but I don't know if you maintain your permanent resident status because they consider you as like an abandoned person, basically. I'm so confused. Hasn't her father lived outside the country for work for long periods? Yeah, but I'm sure that her father has like an employer. Her father works for the Swedish police department, so they probably handle all the paperwork for that themselves. I doubt her dad has to like manually do any of this shit, you know? I'm so confused. They're mad at Melina because she paid too much in taxes. So I talked to the lawyer. Apparently some prosecutors don't like the influencer and they like look down on it. And apparently, I don't know if this is true, but Melina and her dad tell me, so I take it on their word. A lot of the systems in Sweden are incredibly archaic. Now, again, I'm just repeating my friend. I don't know if this is true, but supposedly in Sweden too, there are like some people, like when you pay bills, you still have to like do it like by mail and shit. That like not all of the parts of the government and everything are as like online or accessible as you'd like them to be. And again, I'm not sure 100% that's true. Melina and her family told me that. I've heard a couple other Swedish people say I don't know 100%. Yeah, but.